This is Arturo Romero introducing Sweden. A little general information about Sweden. Sweden is part of Scandinavia, and it's also over 400,000 square kilometers, which also makes it the third largest country in Western Europe, after Spain, France, and it's also larger than California. Sweden is a long country. It's actually the same distance from Seattle to Los Angeles. But even though it's long, it has a small population, with only about 10 million inhabitants and about less of a tenth of the world's population. Sweden is sparsely populated with only about 21 people per square kilometer. This can be compared to population density in China or Hong Kong or India, which have about 134 people per square kilometer. Also, 90% of the population lives in southern Sweden, which also has three largest cities. Everybody else is scattered around. Some history on Sweden. Sweden's history is actually really violent and dramatic. It's filled with a bunch of wars and conquest. It all began with the Viking raids about 1000 AD, and it continued with frequent military campaigns under warrior kings such as Gustav II, Adolf, and Karl VII. In the 1600s, Sweden was one of the great European powers, with territory stretching over large parts of the Baltic region. By the 1700s, Sweden had become so impoverished by all the fighting that it had done to achieve peace in the country and try to survive. Sweden then lived in peace since 1814. Sweden is one of the few countries that was not involved in two of the world wars. Since World War II, Sweden has become known for its role in promoting international peace. Sweden has centuries of peace are one of the most important factors in the country's development and prosperity, and one of the things that they value the most in their culture. It is estimated that Sweden has a total population of 9.9 million. Of those 9.9 million, it also holds one of the smallest groups of indigenous people called the Sami. There's about 20,000 Samis that live in Sweden. Just a century ago, Sweden was once a country full of poor peasants and immigrants. From the end of the 1800s to 1930s, 1.5 million of them immigrated, and most of them to North America, leaving Sweden with a small population. Today, Sweden is a rich and well-educated country with a large annual investment in education and research. It has done this by becoming a multicultural country over the past 50 years. This is due to the fact that hundreds of thousands of people from different parts of the world have migrated back to Sweden, seeking asylum for many reasons. Today, almost 1/5 of the 10 million residents of Sweden were born abroad or have parents that were born abroad. Swedish is the main language in Sweden, but almost all Swedes also speak fluent English. There's also 5 official minority languages in Sweden: Finnish, semi-languages, Yiddish, and Romanian. Swedish is a parliamentary democracy, which means most power comes from the people. The people are represented by a Swedish parliament, and they're voted in by the people. One growing issue in Sweden is immigration. Right now they're having trouble controlling the borders and controlling who comes into the country. Sweden has become a large location for refugees to go to. Due to its growing population and sense of security, it has become a major location for refugees. Some of the major refugee groups that live in Sweden are people from Syria, reaching almost 100,000, refugees from Eritrea, reaching almost 30,000, and people from Somalia, which reach almost 20,000. This is causing a problem because they have a lack of living space. Right now, currently, there's not enough homes being built compared to the people that live there, which are causing apartment prices to skyrocket. And there's also too much urbanization, which makes the prices of houses go way up. Another problem that they face is minimum wage. Minimum wage right now is 8 euros, which is an unsustainable amount of money for people to live off of. They don't have enough money for food a lot of the times, and they don't have enough money to pay their living expenses or rent. Although, as stated before, many of the immigrants do not get paid the full €8. Many of them get paid €5 an hour, which results in them not having enough money to live even more. And them being such a large part of the population of Sweden makes it a major impact and a major issue. At the end of the 1800s, Sweden was actually one of the poorest countries in Europe. Rapid industrialization changed all that. Over the following years, Sweden became one of the richest countries in the world. Record economic development was strongly tied to the building of railroads, providing access to natural resources such as forests, iron ore, and hydropower in northern Sweden, assets that are still considered to be the traditional basis of the Swedish economy. This development is often referred to as the Swedish economic miracle. Sweden's gross domestic product per capita is among the highest in the world. It can be compared to other countries that are considered power countries such as USA, France, and Germany. In parallel with the economic development of the first half of the 1900s, Swedish society went through fundamental changes. The government aimed to create a society focused on the safety and welfare of the individual. The foundation of the Swedish welfare policy is for every citizen, regardless of background, income, or other factors, to be guaranteed basic security in every phase of life. High taxes pay for a large public sector and finance general welfare systems, including healthcare, childcare, schools, and elderly care. Another way of describing the Swedish system is a market of economic with strong elements of reciprocity, often referred to as the Swedish model, or the third way. It has attracted attention among politicians, scientists, and other politicians worldwide, and served as an example in many other countries. One of the major focuses in Sweden is equality. The Swedish society is based on the conviction that everyone is equal. Swedish laws and customs prohibit discrimination against people on the basis of sex, ethnic origin, physical or mental, or intellectual disabilities. In the Global Gender Gap Report in 2016, produced by the World Economic Forum, Sweden is one of the world leaders in equality, after Iceland, Finland, and Norway. Sweden has a unique culture. I believe it's built on four things. One is curiosity. When they first invented this new idea of equality and that everyone is equal, it wasn't the general idea of the world. Most people still had a lot of discrimination going on in their individual countries, but because of their curiosity, they discovered a new and better way. And for this reason, I believe they're still searching to change things in the new best way. Another major thing that impacts their leadership style is trust. To really believe in the equality of everyone, you have to believe that everyone else holds the same fundamental values that you do. To do this, you have to trust one another and you have to believe in the society. Another thing is inclusion. Sweden really focuses on not leaving everyone behind. They really invest a lot of time and effort into giving everyone the same opportunity and chance to be successful. Another thing is resilience. Adversity is going to occur, and one of the major things that has allowed them to be successful is to overcome these challenges and overcome these barriers that hold people apart in other cultures, and they really believe in equality. Sweden has created a leadership word of their own called lagom. It is an ancient word, approximate meaning of not too much and not too little, or just enough. The idea was to make sure that people took just enough to ensure that the pot could go all the way around, giving everyone a turn to eat or drink. In other words, it was important that no one took too much or too little so the pot could make it all the way around, or the entire team. This was built on equality and the value that everyone should get a chance to be successful or to have the equal opportunity to do what they want to do. Over the past 100 years, Sweden has made an extraordinary journey from a poor nation of peasants to one of the strongest economies of the world. The long distance between the northern and southern parts of Sweden creates a dramatic contrast in the landscape and nature across the country. Sweden offers mountains, glaciers in the north, dense forests and thousands of lakes and rivers in the central parts, fertile farmlands in the south, and the extensive coastline of more than 2,700 kilometers, has numerous and tens of thousands of islands. To sum up, you can say that Sweden is a country of opportunities with good equal life in both human and natural environments.